This is the kind of stuff that erodes trust among the American people in our various institutions, including our justice system. There's very clearly a two-tier justice system at play here. And so, look, I think that there should be a law preventing presidents from pardoning individuals where they have a conflict of interest, family members, right?
Well, the Young Turks are going to war against their own viewers. Anna Kasparian and even Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks are increasingly taking the side of the right, or as they would call it, the populist side. I've been looking at the comments on Young Turks videos recently, and the fans are not happy, I must say. They were already disappointed with Anna for her so-called slide to the right, and now it seems that they're mad at Cenk for his increasingly centrist position. So let's get into the video and see where this goes.
Hunter Biden was hired by this Gabriel Popoviciu, who is a Romanian businessman. He was facing prosecution for corruption in Romania. And in 2015, he hired Hunter Biden, who is a lawyer, while his father was vice president, to help fend off charges. That effort was unsuccessful, to your point, Cenk. And in 2016, this Russian businessman was convicted on charges related to a land deal in northern Bucharest. So there are other specific examples that have been provided by the New York Times in their reporting, having to do with China, as you referenced, Cenk. I don't know what the truth is, right? This is not really something that has been investigated by prosecutors. But again, I do think that the length of time in which Hunter Biden has now been given cover is too long, and I think could potentially be done on purpose to protect Hunter Biden, if he engaged in any illegal corruption.
In any illegal corruption. Don't you love living and living under and being governed by such an utterly corrupt political elite class? Just amazing. So corrupt. Of course, the Hunter Biden pardon is an example of corruption. On the other hand, frankly, that's just the way the system works. Presidents pardon all sorts of dodgy characters all the time. That's the way it works. It's one of the perks of being president, and it's one of the perks of being a friend of the president, especially if you've done something for that president, perhaps earlier in your career, back when you guys were young and thrusting and coming up. Maybe you've done a few dodgy things. And if your friend's the president, well, he can just pardon you. Typically, it happens on the last day of his term before he actually leaves office. So it does seem a little bit strange that Joe Biden is pardoning his own son, Hunter Biden, right now when he's got, still a month or so left to go. But I'm sure there's a reason for it. I'm sure you can tell me in the comments. Apparently somehow, hold on, I don't quite, and didn't he pardon him? It's like he pardoned him for everything, not just for a specific crime for which he, for that gun crime, that's like so-called gun where he filled in a form wrong or whatever it was. But, it seems like a blanket pardon, which seems extremely dodgy to me, and I suppose is kind of helps protect Joe Biden himself, probably because Joe Biden himself was involved in some dodgy dealings with his son, Hunter Biden.
Which does happen time to time, believe it or not. Some corruption is still considered illegal in America.
Yeah, I know, because, especially the Corrupt Foreign Service Act prevents you from bribing foreign officials, as an example, or them bribing you, because one of Trump's top donors, Sheldon Adelson, had that charge against him, which magically went away with a tiny little fine in that context when Trump got into office. So, but I'm sure the Republicans are livid about that. Are they? No. Oh, yeah. I'm getting news from my non-existent earpiece that they are not livid about that. And I'll come back to that in a second. But so prosecutors, I don't know if they did the right thing or not in unearthing everything they could about Hunter Biden. But I do know that James Comer had all the time in the world to investigate him. And here's how many connections that he found between Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Zero.
Exactly.
Nothing. Okay. So if you're pretending that he found something, well, where is it, brother? Where is it? So he's full of crap. He never found anything. One of our members here, Box on Super Chat, made a good point. So on the gun charge, he said, so I'm pretty pro Second Amendment. I don't like that he pardoned Hunter without fixing the question of the gun form too. That question needs to be changed.
I agree.
This has nothing to do with any substance. If you thought that that was bad, you should change that line in the gun form. And I agree. I'm not a gun rights advocate. I'm probably the opposite. But that line makes no sense, and it should be taken out. But nobody fixes anything that affects the average American. They only do things that affect the very, very elite. Now, fine.
Good point by Cenk there. The elites work for the elites. They're not working for you and I.
Finally, to that point, I'm allowed to be outraged by Hunter Biden scams. I'm allowed to know, hey, wait a minute, did it connect to Joe Biden or not, et cetera. But that's because I'm consistent and principled, whether it's Republicans or Democrats. But if you're a Republican or a right-winger who's saying Hunter Biden is the worst thing in the world, blah, 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 but then you don't mind that Donald Trump pardoned Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, and Charles Kushner, let alone.
Hey, Hunter Biden just wants to party, bro. He's just fighting for his right to party with guns and hookers and coke. I mean, come on. What's a man supposed to do? How's a guy supposed to have a good time in current year?
On dozens of other incredibly wealthy people and people connected to Donald Trump that I could tell you about, well, then you're a giant hypocrite. So you got to own up to that. So, for example, Steve Bannon's crimes had nothing to do with the Trump administration. He was building a fake wall. He just robbed his own viewers, and his co-conspirators went to jail. And Trump's like, yeah, but he's my guy, and I like that he was robbing people. I pardon him. But if you say, okay, well, but Bannon and Stone, maybe they're crooks, but they're his crooks. Charles Kushner is obviously his son-in-law's dad, Jared Kushner's dad. That crime that Charles Kushner committed was both awful, was a white-collar crime looking to rip other people off, and happened before the Trump administration. It had nothing to do with lawfare, and the guy who convicted him was Chris Christie. So why did you pardon Charles Kushner? Because he's part of the Trump family.
Yeah, that's the way it works. That is the way it works. I don't agree with it myself, but that's the way it works. That's how these elites, that's how they roll. So, I wish Jared Kushner was not part of the Trump family, and therefore Charles Kushner. I don't know what Charles Kushner did. He probably did commit a crime. And Roger Stone, did Roger Stone rip a bunch of people off? Maybe. I don't know about that thing he's talking about. He raised money to build the wall or something. Well, you'd have to be an idiot to donate to that. But if it was a crime, it was a crime. And yeah, he should pay for it. But that's what these presidents use their pardons for, is to get their friends and family out of jail free.
So I could be mad and you could be mad about Hunter Biden, but Trump and his allies don't get this fake cry about, oh, I can't believe Biden pardoned family members. All right, why'd you pardon Charles Kushner, that giant criminal? Oh, right, because he's now part of your criminal family.
Yeah, and in fact, Donald Trump has named him the ambassador of France, which is quite. Yeah, wait, Jared Kushner is going to be the ambassador of France?
That's what I thought.
Oh, I thought it was going to be his dad. Maybe I'm mistaken. Is it his father or is it Jared Kushner?
It's his father?
Yeah, it's his father.
Criminal ambassador to France?
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
My God.
Yes. It's wrong.
Christ.
And look, this is the kind of stuff that erodes trust among the American people in our various institutions, including our justice system. There's very clearly a two-tier justice system at play here. And so, look, I think that there should be a law preventing presidents from pardoning individuals where they have a conflict of interest, family members, right? There should be protections to prevent that kind of activity from taking place. But if there isn't, we're going to continue seeing more of this, and we're going to continue seeing more trust eroded among the American people toward our institutions and our justice system. It's just the fact of the matter.
Yep, it is just a fact of the matter. The bad thing from the elite's point of view, of course, is that these days it's getting harder and harder to control what us ordinary people get to see and learn about. Thanks to the internet and social media, as much as I decry social media, in many cases, it does give ordinary people, the opportunity, if they're not censored, to spread this information. And to, most people just have gone through life. When I was growing up, for example, there was the TV, had 3 channels. I grew up in the States. and basically 3 channels, 3 networks: ABC, CBS, NBC, and there were the newspapers and magazines. That was the media back then. So it was relatively easy for the media to control those, or sorry, for the elites to control those media outlets and to get printed what they want printed, and to allow a little bit of a pushback from the other side. Every media outlet was biased and all that, but they could control the narrative relatively easily back then. Now it's getting harder and harder, and now that, well, I mean, the elites, of course, still try to control what's said on social media, and were successful in doing it, especially during Trump's first term. I mean, we've now found out, now that Elon has taken over Twitter, we found out that government officials, agencies, higher ups were directly contacting Twitter and Facebook and asking them to delete users or delete posts. They were trying to control what was said. And you can go on to, of course, there are other websites, which to the normie mind are just kind of beyond the pale, like 4chan. But you can find very interesting information there. It's not always right, but it can get you thinking in ways that the elites don't want you to think. You start asking questions about, wait a second, who's actually in charge of us, and what are they actually trying to do, and do they actually have our best interests at heart? Spoiler alert, generally, no, they don't have our best interests at heart. They have their best interests at heart. So let me know what you think about this. As I said, the Young Turks have, they're alienating, it seems to be they're alienating a significant part of their audience. If you look at the comments under these videos, they are going off. Anna, I think a lot of people have given up on Anna amongst the Young Turks fan base, but now they see Cenk becoming increasingly centrist, and they don't like it. They don't like it at all. Calling them grifters, calling them, all sorts of names. It's a laugh. Let me know what you think. Please leave a comment. That helps with the algorithm. Like and subscribe. That also helps with the algorithm, of course. And it helps me continue growing this channel and making content for you.